Hey, what's up, dudes? Happy Friday. We made it. Y'all got that 3-day weekend. Some of y'all, anyway, because of Memorial Day. We're off on Monday, but I work on Saturdays, so it's a 2-day weekend. But it's usually just a 1-day weekend, so get that extra day. All right. Well, it's very late. I almost never code this late, especially on a Friday. But I didn't code yesterday, and I've been just slacking a little bit, and I feel like I just gotta get back in it, because I'm so close to finishing. I just have to. I have to do this, you know. So what did we do last time? Well, we just continued figuring out this save logic master save object list final form for the namespaces, the associated load and save logic for each one. Very straightforward stuff, nothing too complicated. So basically we're just going to copy this because we're going to be doing the same exact thing today. So we'll just paste this in. We'll put part 4. We're just going to change the date to be the 23rd. We didn't code yesterday. Called me lacking. Not going to lie. 7:19 to whatever time we go to. I'm just going to do an hour today. Not gonna do nothing extra because I'm starting so late. It's gonna be a miracle if I actually. Oh, see, I fucked this up. Ah, I see what I did there. I usually don't do that. It's pretty rare of me to have done. That's so weird. I stopped at the same time. That's so weird. I stopped at 7:21 and I started. Weird. Anyway, so we stopped at line 54 in save logic. So let's go over there and take care of that. So let's go over yonder. There we go. Let's see our extensions. Gonna have to reload that, restart them. So we have 5:21:25 stopped here, and we put this asterisk, and that indicates that we have fixed the setters for these properties to account for proper and thorough load logic related to reconnect bool extra functionality that isn't saved through the save list objects. Okay, so I don't think we need those anymore. And so we can get rid of that, and then we have next continue going through list, ensuring we account for all the proper procedures. So the one that we're on, we'll just go ahead and put like a we'll do that. That'll indicate which one we're on. So we'll do it like that. So let's go ahead and see if we can post the stream. There he is, that high-pitched feller. That high-pitched feller. See if the stream working. Yeah, it's working, dude. Big money. Alright. Multiple choice active. So that's the one we're going to be on now. Oh yeah, remember, we need to do this one in the context of current game. So we're gonna copy that, paste that in there, and line that bad boy back up, because I like it to be tidy, you know what I'm saying? Alright, so multiple choice active. Let's Control Shift F. This is gonna be in game, so we can just minimize these other ones. There it is. Alright, so that's gonna be a property, just like yeah, multiple choice active is indeed a property. So what we need to do is in the setter, we're gonna add that if reconnect bool is equal to false, because that's the more common, means not a reconnect, operates normally. Yeah, so if reconnect bool is equal to false, then we will do all this stuff, and then we have at the end, we have else, and that is the same as saying elif reconnect bool dot reconnect bool is equal to true, and that means reconnecting avoids extra functionality and data transfer. And in this case, we would just set the internal, and then we're going to do the line by line to see if there's anything that's not in the whatchamacallit, the save list that would need to be saved, or not saved, but that would need to be like code that would need to be executed in this setter. So let's go line by line here. So we have lock acquisition, core func, data transfer, internal, core func call, release lock. So there's nothing extra here. So yeah, we can just do this straight up. Now let's just review. Reconnect bool is equal to false. Means not a reconnect, operates normally. Yep, double stamp of approval on that. And then the else, which means elif reconnect bool is equal to true. Means reconnecting avoids extra functionality and data transfer. That's also correct. And then we have under multiple choice active equals val. There you go. Big money. Honey. Easy. Let's go over to... So that's done. I felt like that was really fast. But I think that's right. I think that's it. Alright, so now we just need to do... This one is a... It is a property, so those operate in the context of the instance. So we would call current game dot multiple choice active. All right, so the next one is going to be multiple choice text 1. Let's see what this one is. This one is a property as well, just like the rest of them. And I got yeah, so this is gonna be multiple choice text 1. There it is. So there's the setter. Multiple choice text 1 is as a CS, lock acquisition, core func, data transfer. Okay, so it does have some extra shit that goes on. Oh no, this is a lot. Oh no. Well, it's not so bad. It's about 10 lines. But it's going to require a little bit of thought. Unfortunately, a little bit more thought required for this one. Oh, I got a message from my pretty Fran. From my beautiful Fran. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm going to call you when I'm done coding, okay, baby? Alright, back to it. Multiple choice text 1 is a whatchamacallit. It's a property, therefore it has a setter. The setter is at the very beginning going to have the if reconnect bool dot reconnect bool is equal to false, means not means not reconnect, operates normally, and then we indent everything here. Then we have the else at this level, which is the same as saying elif reconnect bool dot reconnect bool is equal to true, which means it is a reconnect. Means reconnect avoids extra functionality and data transfer. So else we're gonna do the self underscore multiple choice text 1 val. Okay, yeah, so then we have this else if reconnectable is equal to false, and that's going to get the double stamp of approval, means not a reconnect, operates normally, and then else at this correct indentation is either if reconnectable is equal to true, meaning it's a reconnect, avoids extra functionality and data transfer, given that the double stamp of approval as well, which sets the internal, and that is exactly what we want to happen. Alright, so let's go line by line to see if there's anything from the core func that needs to be included in the why do I define core func and then call core func? Like, why don't I just, why did I do that? I don't know. That's just redundant. I'm going to add a little comment here for that to review. Why do we need core func? Can't we just execute the code directly? Yeah, so we'll check into that eventually, but it's not a huge deal. All right, line by line here, we got data transfer. Then we have, for client side, we do set the prior multiple choice text 1 object rec. Okay, and then, so we're probably gonna need to do this. Oh, and you know what I just realized? Oh, I just realized a big issue with the code that we're adding here. This reconnectable would be false by default. So that is dangerous. Well, you know what we could do is we could just default it to none. And we wouldn't have to add in extra logic, because the issue here is whenever this gets run on the server side, reconnectable, if we defaulted it to false, it would enter into, well, actually that's not bugged. I'm tripping. That's actually completely fine. Yeah, if reconnectable is equal to false. Okay, yeah, I'm tripping. Anyway, continue. So this does need to happen, I think. This is going to need to happen on the client side in the context of reconnectable being true. So on a reconnect, we would probably, I don't know, let's work through this. Let's see if we would need it. So it sets the prior, it sets the internal, and then it sets all the text object, etc., etc. Yeah, and this is going to end up being defaulting back to none because we don't save this stuff. At least I don't think we do. Let's see. Do we save the, first of all, do we save the prior multiple choice text 1 object rect? I don't think we do. Let's just check that. So we're looking for prior multiple. PM, baby. PM, prior multiple, and we got not shit here. It's not there, dude. Duh. Easy. Should have known that. It's always good to check. Now let's, so this does need to happen because since it's not saved, it's going to be set to none. And, well, we actually only need this if we need to do the rest. So let's see if we need to do the rest because that's why we need that. So then we look for multiple choice text 1. So let's look for that. Multiple choice text 1 object. Multiple choice text 1 object. No, we don't save the object. We do save the multiple choice text 1, but not the object. So this would need to be run again in the case of reconnecting, because this would at this point just be none. So whenever we would try to render, it would just be equal to none. It wouldn't be rendering anything at all, would it? And same thing for the rect. It wouldn't have the rect would just be none. We'd probably get some sort of bug. If progression text object rect is not equal to none, okay, so this determines, it moves it lower so it doesn't interfere with the progression text location. I see. And if the prior is not equal to none, then it so in this case, it would be equal to none, though. This would be equal to none, right? Yeah, that would be equal to none. So this is a little bit problematic because multiple choice text 1 object rect. Let's see. Upon a reconnect, since we don't save this, it would be set to none. But in reality, prior to the reconnect, it wouldn't be none, would it? It would be set to like, you know, whatever it was. So that just means we need to save this, right? Because we can't just like re-execute it. Re-executing this code doesn't matter. It wouldn't work properly. Well, hold up. Let me think this through. So it's checking to see. It only needs this to determine this shit out of here. Fucking too much bagpipe, dog. Way too much bagpipe. So if self prior multiple choice text 1 object rect is not equal to none. So this would just be if it needs to redraw, right? But in the case of a reconnect, we don't need to erase, like, we don't need to redraw the rect because there wouldn't be a rect. So we basically know that it would be none. So we're actually safe on this. Like we don't need to save this because really the whole purpose is to just erase it anyway. Does that make sense? So actually, I don't even think we need this because this is definitely just going to be none, which means this would be where is it? Multiple choice text 1. Yeah, right here. This would not ever get entered into. Right? Multiple choice text active. I wonder if that would affect this at all. Oh, it's a lot to consider. I don't want to bug it out, and I don't want to rush through this. I think that I think that we're safe. I don't think we would need this on a reconnect. Yeah, let's just be simple here. The only reason we need this is to erase the prior. If it was bigger, we would like make it smaller. You know, it would fix the rect to adapt to the new multiple choice text 1. Yeah, if the current was less than the prior, yeah, if the old one was bigger, we would want to shrink it down so the edges wouldn't like be extended past the text, right? So since this would always be none because we don't save it, we wouldn't need to have that. So we're good. We don't need this to be executed on a reconnect. Now let's go to this next part. Do we need this? This sets the multiple choice text 1 object to the render, and it sets the rect. We definitely need this because otherwise this would be set to none, so it wouldn't actually properly render the multiple choice text 1. So we need both of these. So let's go ahead and copy this right here. And I don't think we even need to add the SS or CS because it's basically implied that if reconnect bool is equal to true, that already means we're on client side. Basically, server side, we're never going to have reconnect bool be set to true. So let's go down here and we'll add this, and this happens after the internal is set, so it would just be like that. Of course it messed up the indentation, that's just what it does. Then we have if self progression text object rect is not equal to none. Okay, if that is not equal to none, then we move it. So I think we actually would need this, and this might be a little bit complicated, because I would like to say, obviously we would need progression text object to be set first, right? So because progression text sets the progression text object rect. So let's just see if we save progression text. I already know that we do. I just want to verify it. So let's find it here. There it is, progression text. Okay, so we do save that one. So this comes down to the proper order of operations on reconnect. I know there are certain things that need to happen prior to other things. It's just the way that it works. You can't just do it in an arbitrary order. It has to be structured in a certain way for it to function correctly. So for instance, in this case, I believe we would need progression text to be loaded in prior to multiple choice text 1. And currently, well, if we're iterating through it line by line, progression text would actually come after. So what we'll do to fix that is we'll just move it up above multiple choice text 1, and I guess that's a good way to do this. Anything that needs to come before another thing is loaded, basically the next thing requires the prior thing to have been loaded first. We're just going to move it up in the list because we iterate from the beginning. So we start at the beginning and we go through. And I'll just add a note here that says below line 520 tree 25 must be loaded prior to multiple choice text 1 and 2. I'm assuming both of them. due to the fact that it depends on this being loaded first. I mean, that's kind of like redundant, but it's very clear. I won't be confused about that. So progression text must be loaded prior to multiple choice text 1, 2 due to the fact that it depends on it being loaded, on this being loaded first. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so let's go back over to game. Now we have, what do we have going on here? We have, okay, so we have these two lines. We have the internal, then we do the object and the object rect. And I think we probably need this one as well, because if we do have the progression text loaded, which we're going to need it to be loaded, so sometimes we have a progression text displaying along with multiple choice options. And in that case, we move the rect center of the multiple choice text 1 object. We just like shift it down so it's not overlapping the progression text. So this would need to happen. So we're gonna copy this, and what does it actually do? It sets, yeah, it sets the rect center lower, and it depends on the progression text object rect center and the progression text object rect bottom. So all that has to be loaded. Now I'm assuming that's something that we're gonna. Okay, so this does happen after that. All right. Yeah, so this is good. Now we have everything happen that needs to happen. We have the internal text 1 object is set, the rect is set, the progression text object rect is checked, which we have moved progression text prior to this one in the save object list to ensure that it would be loaded first. So the data would be there, and it would properly detect that it was not none, and then we would set the text 1 object rect center a little bit lower based on whatever the progression text object rect was. There you go. So that's pretty much it, I think. This last section, the prior multiple choice text 1 object rect not equal to none, redrawing it, yeah, that would already be none. So yeah, it's that simple. We don't need that. Pretty confident in our assessment here, so I'm going to give it a double stamp of approval. Let's just triple check here. The multiple choice text 1 object, self font render val true, dark blue color would be there. The rect is equal to the multiple choice text 1 object, which is a prior set immediately prior. Then we do the progression text object rect not equal to none, which would have been loaded previous. Multiple choice text 1 object rect center based on the progression text rect center blah blah blah. Yep. All right, we're good. Finished that. Now we can just triple check that indent, and that looks good to me, guys. So we're done with that one. Cool. Making good progress here. And what namespace would we load it and save it as? Well, current game dot. It's just like the rest of them. It was a property, right? And those are referenced in the context of the instance. Next. Wait, I'm tripping. So this kind of messed me up here. Needs to be done. So this one needs to be done. There we go. So we actually have to do progression text. We just did multiple choice text 1. So let's go ahead and do progression text. Since we had to move it in the list, it fudged up the order. So let's go up here and let's look up progression text. Why do I feel like we already did that? We didn't. We were just talking about it, so it made me feel like we already did it. All right, now this is going to be it's going to be a property as well. So let's keep on going here. Find it. There's going to be a lot of references to this one. This is a very popular data point. Here it is, progression text, the setter. So it is another property like I said. Duh. Of course I was right. Josh, 3 years ago, tested game, found a couple of bugs, and debugged. 3 years ago, guys. Been working on this for a long time. Very long. So long that the rocks do not even recall the beginning of this project. If reconnect is equal to false, means not reconnect, operates normally. There you go. Now, highlight. Oh, God, there's so much. Oh, God, this might take us the rest of the session right here. Holy shit. It's really not that complicated. It's a lot. It's really not, guys. It's really not that much. I'm about to shed a tear, but I'm just telling myself it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. So this is going to be else, which is akin to saying elif. It didn't. There it goes. If reconnect is equal to true, and that means reconnect avoids extra functionality and data transfer. Yup. So what do we need to be done in the else case when reconnecting is true? Well, I know one thing. The main thing that needs to be done would be this, that progression text internal gets set. That is the most important thing, right? Because that is what is retrieved when we access this property through its getter. It returns the internal. See? That's all it does. So we definitely need that to happen. Now we just have to go line by line and see what else we need to happen on a reconnect. So that's for SS only. Core func data transfer. This is CS and progression text object not equal to none. Well, in our case, progression text object would be equal to none, right? Because that means there is no progression text because we just reloaded. Well, unless we save the progression text object. So do we save the progression text object? I don't think that we do. Progression text object. See, I told you guys I got good at this shit, bro. I told you. Told you. Let's not get cocky here. Progression text object is not equal to none. So in this case, it would always be equal to none on a reconnect. Yeah, because we don't save it, and since it's default to none, it would be none. Okay, cool. So, like, we don't even need to look at this. We don't have to worry about the prior, blah, blah, blah. Internal. Okay, now this is going to be where it gets tricky. If we're from CS, which we are, then we're going to have to do the object and the rect, just like with the other one. And then this checks the object rect size to see if it's a certain size to turn it into multi-line, a multi-lined rectangle, so that it doesn't extend past the edge of the screen or, you know, past a reasonable point. Does that make sense? So then we just use the object rect. So this is all using stuff that we just have set. It does some splitting, some joining, some fucking magic. We set progression text object to yeah, easy money, temp, blah, blah, blah. Self temp is equal to, so we're just setting stuff. We're not referencing stuff that's not set. Progression text object rect at index 2. What's this doing? Well, that's fine. If it's this is for a third line, and that's even more magic. And yeah, there's nothing like wrong with there's nothing problematic here. And then we set the object rect center. And then we check to see if the prior is not equal to none. It would always be equal to none, so we don't have to worry about any of these. So it's basically a mirror of the other one. It's just a little bit more extensive. So all this is going to need to happen in the case of a reconnect. This, unfortunately, is going to cause us to have to rewrite a lot of code. I would like to say I could just put this inside of a function, but it's okay. I'm not going to put it inside of a function. We can always come back and put it inside of a function, right? Sometimes putting things in a function is a little bit more complicated than you might think. So we paste in all this fucking code here, and it messed up the indentation. Whoever could have imagined VS Code would mess up the indentation? And we need to do one or twice. One, I think two. Well, we don't actually need to check if CS. So technically, we would delete this. Yeah, technically, we can just get rid of that shit and then do all this. So we have progression text val, object, the rect, the size check, does the stuff. What about this though? Is this? Yeah, so it would only check that in the context of it. Wait, it's already checking greater than 1600. I'm confused here. Oh, if in the case in which the width is still larger than 1300 after being divided in half. Okay, so it checks it again because it's been reassigned. Gotcha. Okay, okay. Clever, clever. And then else. Man, I'm a genius, eh? Holy shit, dude. It's not really that complicated, guys. It's not. Then we have if the progression text is, and then else we just set it to none. And then we have the progression text direct center. Okay, cool. So I think that's actually like it. Yeah, it's that simple. If else, and then we have the center set regardless of whether or not we set deal with a lengthy rect. Okay, so else there, and then we have the if. Is it at the correct indentation? Yeah, if reconnect is equal to false. Means not reconnect. Operates normally. Okay, we got 30 minutes left. That means I did 38 minutes. We're over halfway there. Alright, we're getting close. I'm getting like, I don't want to do this. I might stop. It is 8 o'clock. I'm getting a little bit tired. I might stop here, guys. We might do one more. Let's just keep on going. Be strong, dude. Be strong. So save logic. We just did progression text. Yes. All right. Now, next one is going to be multiple choice text 2. So I think this will be our, we'll say this will be our last one. So let's hurry up and knock this one out of the park. Let's go over here to current game multiple choice text 2. So let's search for this one. It's going to be exactly like the last one, the multiple choice text 1. It's just this, it's the same thing. So we got to find it first, and it'll be there. There it is. All right, so we got our setter. We're gonna add our code here for reconnect bool dot reconnect bool is equal to false. Means not reconnect, operates normally. Now indentation after the highlight, we do have a little bit of extra stuff that goes on here. Proper indentation would be right here. Else, which is elif, reconnect bool dot reconnect bool is equal to true, that would be means reconnect avoids extra functionality and data transfer. Now, in the case of the else, we would need to set the internal, of course, that is a given. But what also would we need to set? Well, let's go line by line. SS lock, core func, data transfer, prior. Why would we set the prior? That would be none, so we don't actually need to worry about that because it's just going to check to see if it was none, so it would be none, which means we don't need this section. But do we need this? Yes, we already did that. Now we have the object, the rect, if the text1 object is not equal to none. So this does refer to the text1, so that would have to happen first, which that is the proper order. If the text object 1 is not equal to none, and if the rect is not equal to none, then we would set the multiple choice text to object rect center lower. So this does need to happen, all this that we highlighted. So we can go ahead and copy that and bring it down here, and then bam, and fix the indentation that's fucked up. There it goes. So we set internal, we set the object, the rect, we check the one object, the one rect, and then set the to rect center a little lower in the case. And since 1 comes before 2, we are actually safe. So that is it. Let's just double stamp approval, indentation, triple check is good. Reconnect bool is equal to false. Always want to recheck your Boolean values that you enter. Then we have our internal. We have our object, dark blue color, all that would be there. It does the get rect, it checks the one object which would be there, it checks the one rect which would be there as well, and then it sets the to center, which is perfectly fine. Alright, so we're done with that. I think I'm just going to keep on going here. I'm feeling like this is good progress. Let's just keep it going here. Round and winner sound bool. This is going to be in game, so let's just check it out. This one is a property as well. There it is. So we got to add in the magic. Reconnect bool equal to false. Means not reconnect, operates normally, and then highlight whoopsie. Okay, there's not a lot going on there. If reconnect bool is equal to false, yeah, and then we say, let's do it like this, copy, go down here, else, elif, paste, get rid of the if, elif reconnect bool is equal to true, means reconnect, avoids extra functionality and data transfer. And then in that case, we want to set the internal round and winner sound bool. Ah, I copied the wrong line. Gotta be careful there. We would set the internal equal to val. Alright, let's look at this. Reconnect bool is equal to false, means not reconnect, operates normally. That's correct. Else, elif reconnect bool is equal to true, means reconnect, avoids extra functionality. Data transfer sets internal round and winner sound bool equal to val. Correct. Correct. Alright. Data transfer, not worried about it. Internal, if val is equal to true on CS, we would stop the Pygame mixer. Abruptly stops all the sounds, and then it plays the round and winner sound. And then it would set the internal to true. And then if we're setting it to false, we would fade out and set the internal to false. Why would we not, like, doesn't this do that? Like, if we're setting it to false, why would we need to set it to true and then false after? I don't know if that's bugged, but I will put a note here, a caution comment. We go through these at the very end of the project, and just review them and see what's up with them. So we're gonna put, why would we set this if it is already set to val immediately above? Be thorough and careful. Perhaps there is a reason for this anomaly. Perhaps. So we do need this to happen though on a reconnect. We actually probably wouldn't need this to happen because the mixer wouldn't actually be started. But then that triggers the round end winter sound play. So we'll just do it anyway. And then the round end winter sound fade out. So we want all this to happen. So let's paste that there. And we should probably put a div after this because this is extra functionality. So we have a div now if val is equal to true. Did it mess up the indentation? I don't think it did actually. So it says if val is true. If it's CS, we actually don't need to check the CS because we know it will be CS. So in this case we could just do mixer stop and then play, right, like this. And then the val is equal to false. We don't need to check CS because we know it is CS. Round end winter sound will fade out, and then it sets the internal equal to false. And let's add that comment there because it's the same thing. Alright, there we go. So if and then else, bam. So if val's true, mixer stop, play, round end winter sound will true, if val's false, fade out, etc., etc. Cool. Alright. So I think we're done here. We do have repetition of code, which I don't like. Technically, I probably could have structured this a little bit better. Like, basically the only thing that I really don't want to happen in this case would have been the data transfer. So I really could have put if reconnect bool is equal to false for like run this, and then else, well no, because then it would always run. Well, we would say if reconnect bool is not equal to true or is equal to false, run this section, and then everything else would just always run. So I think the smarter way would be to just do it like that, huh? Yeah, I think so. It makes more sense. Like, it is more organized to have it divvied out like that into an if and an else, but do we really need that? I feel like adding the bloated code repetition makes me visually confused looking at it. I don't like it. I would actually just prefer if we did if reconnect bool is equal to false, run this section right here, if then data transfer. And then whether it's false or true, we want to run this section, right? So if we're not reconnecting, we do want to do data transfer. If we are reconnecting, or if we aren't reconnecting, we want to run internal, we want to run the mixer, we want to run this. So basically we would just get rid of this entire section right here. Bam. And then, see how much prettier that is? Then we would do, if reconnect bool is equal to false, blah, 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 and then this part would get moved up to the base level. So this would only run if it was false, but this would always run. This section here would always run, whether it was false or true. And that was basically how we had it, right? If we're reconnecting, we need this to run. If we're not reconnecting, we need this to run. So we always need it to run, in other words. There we go. Probably want to do the same thing for progression text. So let me go back to that one. Let's see, progression text, and we'll do, to find it quicker, we'll do def. See that? Now it brings us directly to it. That's what I should have been doing, but I'm a doofus. So you see how we duplicated this long string of code right here? I think, well, we could do it, we could modify this to where there's only a little section that doesn't happen, right? Look at how long this is. This is just a duplicated set of code. Let's go ahead and do what we just did with the other one to this one. So we're going to say if reconnect bool, I'm getting a headache from my thinking. If reconnect bool, or caffeine, it's probably caffeine. If reconnect bool is equal to false, and we're SS, we do this. But basically, we would always want to define this core func, right? We're always going to want to... So we only want to acquire the lock. I want to make sure I'm not fucking this up here. This is really important. Reconnect bool is equal to false. Okay, so if false and we're SS, acquire the lock. But even if we're reconnecting or not, if we are reconnecting or if we aren't, we want to do the core func, right? Yeah, so let's just go ahead and bring this indentation up, and then we call and we would release the lock, but that would only be in the case that the lock was locked. So let's go back to the top here. Actually, I will just go ahead and delete, because we can always just undo. So after this is the else elif reconnect bool. And that's why it's good to add a comment after your else, because you might not remember what else that is, and you could delete or modify the wrong else. So now look at that. Bam. We just deleted like fucking 50 lines, and look how much better this looks. Bam. Beautiful. So now, the only thing that we need to do is we have this part. So if it's reconnect false, SS, lock acquisition. If it's not, reconnect, or if is, it defines core func type val tuple. Val is equal to val 0, else data transfer. Now, we don't want to do the data transfer, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to add in another check right here. We're just going to add in another if reconnect bool is equal to false, then when we're not reconnecting, we do want to do the data transfer. Now I was just thinking, would the type val ever be tuple in the case of a reconnect? I thought we went through that and we determined it wouldn't be. If type val is equal to tuple, No, I don't think it would be. I don't think it ever would be on a reconnect, because that's only for data reception. That's like if we're running the receive section and we received it and then we set it, calling this setter with the tuple. That just means it was sent. Or no, I'm sorry. That means it was added to the changed attribute list in the form. No. That's correct. If it is a tuple, that means we're receiving it, because where it's assigned through dir check. Yeah. But I don't think that would ever be the case on a reconnect, because because it's in the context of this setter already being run, so the val would never be a tuple. It would always, we end up setting, we're not worried about val, we're worried about the internal, because the internal is what is returned by the getter, right? And when we save it, we're saving through the getter. So there is no case in which it would be a tuple. Okay, there, I walked myself through that. That would never happen. So in core func, if it is not a reconnect, in that case, we would then and only then do the val type check and data transfer. We would not want to do data transfer, and let's make sure of that. Well, if it was in the context of it already having been set, which it would, because the while loop iteration includes the entire setter, then the next iteration is when that set value gets saved. It calls the getter, which means the data transfer would already have happened. As long as the data transfer list is saved, that is a completely separate ordeal. We would not want to ever second send. So that is, we have been doing this correctly, I believe. Then we check, so this would only happen if not reconnecting. And that's correct. I'm pretty sure. Now this, if change attribute is CS and progression text object is not equal to none, and it's okay for this to run, it would just always equal none. So if change attribute SSCS is equal to CS, yes, and progression text object is not equal to none, and perhaps it's not equal to none, well, it would be equal to none because we don't save that. Which is fine. We don't need to worry about it. Yeah, so this is just, don't worry about it. It sets the internal, and then this would run either way, and it would set the object, the rect, it checks all that stuff with the length, blah, 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 and then it would just check this, and it would just not enter into it because it would be equal to none. Core func gets called. Is this at the correct indentation? Yes, it is. And then if it is locked, then we release the lock, and that's fine to run as well. So there you go. Look how clean that is. So instead of duplicating 50 lines of code, we literally just added what, one more line right here. Easy. So yeah, let's just review real quick. Setter, if reconnect bool is equal to false, acquire the lock. Actually, we don't even need to check this because these are basically synonymous. If reconnect bool is false, that means we are, well, only if we're SS would the lock be acquired, right? So if the lock hasn't been acquired, if we're not SS, which we're not going to be in the case of the reconnect bool being like It doesn't matter. This is safe. We don't need to add the check there. We can just leave it as is. If we're SS, it will run. If we're CS, which is what we're considering, it's not going to run. So that's fine. It's just not going to run. The only thing that actually depends on the reconnect is this, which is to determine data transfer. We only want to do data transfer in the case that we are not reconnecting. So yeah, there you go. Type vals equal to tuple, vals equal to val 0, else data transfer function, blah, blah, blah. We already went through that. Then we do CS for checks is not equal to none. We set the prior. Yeah, so all this is good to go. And then we have the core func, all this stuff. I just had to triple check this one because it's very important. And there you go. That's simple, right? Easy. I feel like we're done with that. Cool. Yeah, and it's not at the defining of this function that this gets checked. It's whenever it gets called, it gets checked. So we're safe in like the way that we have that structured, I think. Okay, so we're done. Cool, that was easy. So didn't we do round end winner sound bool? We just forgot to set the namespace thing in the list that we're looking at right now. So if we go here, we have the property, round end winner sound bool setters. Round end winner sound bool setters. This sets the time. Yeah, we're good. Like, does this repeat the same 3 songs? Is this literally just like 3 songs that gets played over and over again? I'm hearing that same bagpipe, fucking cracked out bagpipe again and again, and I'm pretty sure. Alright, so we did this, dude. We're done. This is done. Yeah, we did it. Alright, so all we need to do is go over here. And we're just going to say, because that one was a property, right? Yeah, so we're going to do current game. And then fix this. We literally have 5 minutes left. Technically, I can do one more. Let's just fucking do it. Just do that shit, bro. Just get it over with. It needs to be finished. Oh, no, I don't want to. I don't wanna. Why did I start so late? Why did I take such a long nap? Oh, text input active is a legit non-property. I didn't know that. I thought... Is that really true? Well, that's really true. Okay. So it's not a property. The active variable that changes whether there's da, 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 da. Okay. So this one's easy. We don't have to do anything special with this one. This one is just straight up saved and straight up loaded as a boolean. Bam. Okay, that was really fucking easy. Love that. Okay, clickable card list. I think I'm gonna stop here. We'll just put it here. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason we do that 6 is for just in case we like forgot to remove this. It would show up whenever we do our search for caution comments, which is 6 pounds in a row. So 523, we're gonna say stopped here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just because I'm OCD and that's how I do it. We're gonna go over here to devlog. That's line 61. So let's paste that. Stopped at line number 61 in save logic dot py. Boom. Get rid of the extra. What time? We did 8:25 because we're gonna need 2 more minutes. That's an hour and 6 minutes. We'll just say 1 hour, and this is gonna be 8:23, and this would be 8:24 to 8:25. And now we copy all this, and let's make sure it's correct. Continue going through. Yep, it's the same exact thing that we did last time. Stopped at line 61, 1 hours of work. Make sure we're at the root of the project directory, which we are. So we're going to check the branch. We're on the right branch. We're going to git add dot to stage everything. Git commit dash m double quote, paste in the devlog entry double quote. Successfully staged. 3 files changed, 121 insertions, 94 deletions. Git push to the remote GitHub repository. There it went. It's gone. We can get rid of that shit. Now we're going to go over here to the programming projects, rename this backup folder to today's date, which is the 23rd. We go into Canasta, copy this one, go into the backup, delete the old one, paste in the new one, and then just triple check to make sure the devlog at the end shows today's date, which it does, so we're good to go here. Let's back out, and that's it, guys. So the progress is good. It is going. It's less than what I would like because I'm just not coding as much as I had been because I'm a fucking slacker and I'm burnt out and going through some other stuff in my life. So, but I need to code a little bit more. I need to do a little bit more. It's true, I know. At least an hour a day at the very least. But I hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Be safe. Drive safe.